Hello, welcome back to the ONLE Networking Show, news, education and member spotlights from ONLE Networking. I'm James West.
And I'm Kelly West, and we are the co-founders of ONLE Networking, the business network for people who like people.
Fantastic. Well, welcome back, Kelly. Good to see you. So we've got lots coming up on the show today. We're going to be talking about the thing that everyone wants to know, I suppose, from a networking podcast, how to get business from networking. We're going to have a discussion about that. We're going to do a run around of the network based on one of our previous topics. And then we've got an interview. We've got Vanda Varga, Tour Guide to Your Mind. Yeah. She's cool, isn't she? So we're looking forward to that. But before we start, we need to mention our sponsors, the lovely Get Set Solent. Those guys are doing great work. It's a fully funded business support service. It's for people that want marketing support. They can raise finances. They offer loads, don't they? So just look at the website, getsetforgrowth.com/Solent, and find out if you qualify for some of that help. Thanks for your support, guys. So let's start off. Let's talk about how to get business from networking. I think at some point, networking's changed, hasn't it? I think there's a lot of people now that, I certainly did for a while, kind of dual purpose. I wanted business, but I wanted community. I wanted friendship, education, that kind of thing. But I think most people at some point need business from networking, don't they?
The expectation is to gain business from networking. If you go to it and then you enjoy it for other reasons and it supports you in other ways, then that's fantastic. And that's probably the driver for most people, I would say. But ultimately, we go business networking to gain business. So how do we get those leads?
Yeah.
How do we do that?
It's been eye-opening. So our current month, as we were recording this, only talks Brian Hilliard, author of How to Network Like a Pro. It's been great, hasn't it? Because we've kind of dovetailed his quite precise kind of process-driven approach to getting a networking result. I think it's raised a few eyebrows. I think people have thought, ooh, that's quite salesy. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that go networking, kind of dab at it, think they're just going to do an introduction and the business is going to pour in.
Yeah, I think it's worth us just kind of exploring that a little bit more, isn't it? Brian talks to it about it and likens it to face-to-face cold calling.
That's how most people perceive it, isn't it?
You know, and I think a lot of us are uncomfortable in that cold calling space anyway.
Yeah.
So why would we then emulate that in a networking environment? And I suppose to explain that is, it's not a case of the more people you meet, the more business you're going to get. Just multiply the amount of people I'm meeting, and therefore at the end of it, I will get some business. It doesn't really work like that.
No.
As we've said, networking's changed and relationships need to develop. So I think it's about not being frightened to really delve into conversations in the sales space. It doesn't mean you have to sell at the person you're talking to, but you do have to tell them what it is you do in order for them to be able to look for opportunities for you.
Yeah, I think what became very clear is that people are afraid of that part, aren't they? You know, if you're not going to tell people what it is that they can buy, how do you expect them to either buy it or tell someone else to buy it, or at least recommend having a conversation with you? I think there's a slight Englishness about that, isn't there? Or, well, I don't want to tell people that you could buy this thing, but, don't expect people to do the hard work for you. Yeah. He talks about the fact that it's going into a networking context without any plan. So, if you think about it, and let's pick the worst case scenario, and people do this, unfortunately. I can go to this online networking event. It's 90 minutes long. I don't really need to do any preparation. I'll think about what I'm going to say when I get there. And then I won't particularly do any strategic follow-up activity. So typically, what's the result of that? You get people turning up at networking and they say, well, I kind of do this thing and it's connected with this, and it's not really well thought out. So they leave no real impression, do they?
No, I think, as you say, even a basic plan, if you've got the attendance sheet and you know who's going to be there, just look these people up. Are you already connected with them? Have you got shared connections? Have they got a connection that you'd actually like an introduction to? Can you look at their website? Can you just get a little bit of background information? And, if you're at a meeting of 30 people, you're not going to do that for all of them. But surely if you go there regularly, you could pick a couple of people each time you go to a meeting to really further that connection and that information with. And I also think, when you take that out of the networking meeting, and we always talk about giving time at the end of the meeting to do the gold and, really join the dots. If you're going to have a one-to-one with somebody, look at their website, look at their profile. I had a one-to-one the other day with a guy I'd never met before. He'd looked at the website, he'd looked at my LinkedIn profile, and he asked me incredible questions. He'd obviously really looked, he hadn't just skimmed it, and it made such a difference.
Yeah, because you felt like he cared about the conversation rather than,
And he
I'll
had the
pitch, you pitch,
Yeah.
which doesn't really work, does it? Brian talks about 5 steps to networking success, and it's actually really simple. You can paraphrase it as in, have a clear marketing proposition, i.e. know what you're selling. I feel like you can distill this down into even 2 steps. To get success from networking, you need to know your product and who you want to speak to. Brian says typically what happens is that people are asking for something, they're asking for the wrong thing. So I want connections to people that have got 50 employees, but you don't, well, yeah, because you want to sell them a service. But what you've got to remind yourself is, do they really want to talk to you, or are they going to immediately realise I'm going to be being pitched at? So you've got to know what you're selling, who it's for, and he talked about visible indicators. You've got to tell people something that they can identify. So he talked about bookkeeping. Bookkeepers will often say, I want to speak to people whose books are in a mess. No one wants to admit that to me. No one's going to go to a networking event and go, hi, I'm John, my books are in a mess. It's not an external indicator. Whereas John might say, oh, do you know what I'm looking for is funding? Well, I might know a bookkeeper who specialises in helping businesses get funding. So it's got to be a visible indicator. That's step 1. Step 2, talk to people, build credit, have one-to-ones where, or a business meeting as he described it, where you tell them who you're looking for.
And I think the key there is nothing wrong with having a sales conversation with somebody that you're not actually selling to, but you set that out from the start. So I will quite often have a one-to-one with somebody and ask them to tell me more about the business. What's it like to work with you? But I will have clearly stated at the beginning, this isn't necessarily for me, but I need to know what it is you offer in order to hear for opportunities for you. And then once I've heard the proposition, the offering, the service that they provide, my brain will be thinking about who I can connect you with. And I might suggest some connections to that person and they'll say yes or no, that would be ideal for them. My question then would be, but what do you want me to say to them?
Yes.
How do you want me to connect you? What am I telling them the reason for the connection is? Okay, because as an avid connector, sometimes it's just that I don't know why, I think you're really going to get on with this person and there's an energy there. But if it's a looser connection in terms of more of a sales approach, tell me why you want to speak to my connection and I will very happily pass that on.
Yeah, because let's pick on John again. Poor old John. John, what are you going to do? Put in a connection and say, hi, Bob. Why am I making up these archaic names? Hi, Bob. This is John. John's got something he wants to sell to you. It's quite hard to make that connection seem appealing, isn't it? So you've got to have something broader. Brian said part of the problem is that people go to networking and they look at the people, this is particularly if you're new to networking, you can confuse or mistake the successful networker looks like a taker. It looks effortless. It looks like they go to networking, everyone loves them and everyone's giving them stuff. But Brian talks about the fact that the reason that happens is that they've done lots of giving in order to then receive lots in return. So the mistake is that don't try and mimic what you perceive to be a taking behaviour. Good people that take a lot from networks start with giving.
Yeah, completely. I was on a call yesterday and one of the members talked about the fact that he got a piece of business from a networking connection that he met 9 years ago. First time that they've done business together. Now that is a particularly slow burn, but I think, as we keep saying, networking's changed. It is a long-term prospects. That's what you're looking at. So it's long-term goals. It is not short and sharp. You definitely have to build the relationships and the foundations. And most of the successful networkers that you meet will have been doing it for a lot of years. A lot of years, and they will have perfected the art. And I think that you can take a lot from them, but don't think that it's a quick win. Ask them what the secrets to their success are.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Ask good, and like you say, it is an art. It doesn't have, I think being a successful networker, I can't think of any particular parallel in terms of skill set that gives you a direct comparison to what's needed to get success from networking. It's a skill unto itself, isn't it? Part of it is just being aware, it's being a good listener, it's being a bit strategic. I mean, you talked about the person that got rewarded 9 years later. Most people that I talk to at networking don't really track where connections came from, what the next step was. We sometimes do an exercise, don't we? We say, pick your 5 best clients and think back to where they originated from. What was the one? And people are often surprised. It might actually be one person that introduced them to all of those people, and it opens up a whole kind of branch section of the tree, doesn't it? One connection.
Yeah.
So you've got to be aware of that, and you've got to find a way of, maybe for a CRM system, of tracking. I said I was going to do this, right, I've done it. It's about the following up, isn't it?
And finally, important bit, thanking them when they do it.
Yeah, that's a great point,
That's
isn't
a
it?
massive missed opportunity. It is quite disheartening when you've made a really good connection and you know something really good's come from it, and the person that you gave the connection to didn't really acknowledge it.
You put one on a plate for someone the other day, and we won't name names because they are a member, and it's someone who should know better, and they just sort of sent back almost like a cursory, oh, cheers.
Yeah.
It wasn't, and you just think, well, why would I bother putting teeing that up on a plate for you if
Don't
you're...
need bells and whistles, but I think you just need to be mindful that that person has gone out of their way to provide you with a business opportunity. So, you know, we're all different, but I think a recognition in some way is always nice.
Definitely. So just in summary, be clear in what you do. If you're not clear, that's not going to come across. Ask for the right people and earn credit with people. Be helpful. Yeah, that's the route to good networking. Kelly, did you know that Get Set Solent offer businesses in the Solent area fully funded access to a range of really important business services? So there's things like marketing and business workshops, there's one-to-one support, there's networking, and probably most importantly of all, there's access to grant funding.
Well, I didn't realise, but after looking into it, qualifying businesses who enrol in the programme will be matched with an expert advisor who will help them realise their business growth. And this might be through marketing, business strategy, or help to apply for one of the Get Set Solent grants.
Yeah, and because Get Set Solent is a fully funded business support service, amazingly, these services are available for free, as you say, for qualifying businesses. So check them out. Go and have a look at the website, getsetforgrowth.com/Solent, and see if you qualify for some of this support. Okay, so it's time to go around the network, hear from our lovely members. Words of wisdom based off of our monthly business discussion topic, which this month, last month, we talked about Jo Renshaw's 6 months that count. So you might have seen her on the show previously. It was this idea that with focus, clearing out the rubbish, you can kind of get on and have a really good productive 6 months. So it became a conversation really, didn't it, about time management, money mindset, setting good intentions and things like that. So we got quite an eclectic...
Yeah, we did.
Kick us off. We got some good stuff here.
Good conversation. Chris London said he's forcing himself to delegate. He'll often ask team members to do something, and if they ask him how, he'll resort to, I'll do it myself, rather than teaching them to do it.
I'll bet we've all
done that.
Experienced that, haven't we?
Completely with you on that one, Chris. Gareth Screech, loved this one. Price is only questioned when value is in doubt. Absolutely. That one sparked an awful lot of conversation, so I really like that one. Thank you, Gareth.
People stress about the cost of what they offer, don't they? But it's just describing the value, isn't it? Deanna Roberts, this was nice. She said, I pledge to learn something new every day and I make time to do so. She is what we would call a younger person. Most people are younger than us these days. But I just thought that was a lovely attitude to have about, you know, always trying to be learning. You can forget that as you get older in business. And we also had Karina. She said, I make sure I do one thing every day that I enjoy that's just for me. We've had this conversation quite a lot in that business won't leave you alone. If you're waiting for someone else said this and I can't remember what it is. If you're waiting for it to give you a break, you're going to be a long time waiting because it won't naturally present itself, will it?
It's in your hands, isn't it? So, yeah. Vic Hogg, be 1% better every day. Those incremental improvements are achievable, but the compound effect is huge, as James Clear said in Atomic Habits, like that, Vic. Ainsley Chivers, aka the print lady, work on the business, not in the business. Say no to the wrong things. We all have struggled to say no at times, I think, and that is definitely something I took away last month.
Great point. Alice Smee, this was quite important, I think, depending on your sort of perspective. I've stopped consuming news and instead look around at what's going on. If you fill your head with rubbish, it's difficult to be positive.
Yep.
Love that. And then we had Nina Sate, who said, I'm focusing my energy on what's important. Again, it's easy to get distracted and let someone else set the agenda and the narrative. I think those two are quite closely linked.
A lot of conversation about prioritising, and that we're finding it hard to know what to prioritise, so that's an important one. Tim Dudridge, slow down and appreciate the good. Don't just run to the next task or shiny thing. I think he was talking about me in that one.
But you do appreciate the good, don't you? I think you are weird. I don't know.
I do like the shiny though, I must admit, Tim. So yeah, good point there. And then again, Paul Hill, say no and be a bit selfish with your time. Saying no came up a lot. I think we struggle with that, don't we? We're very English. We like to please everybody, and sometimes at the detriment of ourselves. So again, it's that prioritising, saying no to the right things, and yeah, working out what's important.
I wonder if Paul Hill was saying that to himself as much
Possibly.
as trying to tell us that. But no, he has changed. I think he said that this year. Yeah. He's tried to say no a lot more. So, well, thank you, ONLE members. You're great. Some great stuff there. And of course, thanks, Joe Renshaw, for a really thought-provoking conversation starter. Yep. Okay, so for the third part of the show, Kelly's going to be interviewing. Slight change to the format. Get me out of the way. Good idea. Vanda Varga, tour guide to your mind. She's brilliant, so this should be really interesting. Let's go through the Kelly teleports.
Welcome, Vanda. Lovely to have you here.
Lovely to be here.
We were just talking before we hit record, didn't we, about the wonderful coordination of backgrounds. This is the beauty of Zoom. We get to see a window into people's worlds. So thank you for coming along today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's exciting.
You are very welcome. So just to set the scene for our listeners, we're just going to get to know you. We're going to find out more about you as a business owner and kind of just what makes you tick. Bit of a spin on networking, obviously, because that's the angle that we come from, but we want to find out about you. So I've got a little bit of a bio about you, Vanda. So Vanda is a tour guide to your mind. I mean, that is just lovely. And I love the way you say it as well, Vanda. It comes across beautifully. You're an accredited NLP trained practitioner and coach, and you help people who are committed to making a change, overcome their limiting beliefs and to fulfill their full potential. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Good. So let's dive straight in. Tell me, why do you do what you do? Let's go.
Why do I do what I do? Because I'm nosy. Because I like to see into people's heads. It actually is the reason. I find the brain and the mind and how it works absolutely fascinating. And I do want to understand what's going on in there for every single person I meet. And this is really my main driver, is to understand and to be able to help. Because what's really important for me is that people understand that whatever is happening in there at the time doesn't have to be like that, but it can be changed. And that bit that I have the tools, I have the knowledge and the experience to help people learn about their own minds, so then they can go on about their lives and manage their own mental fitness long term. Now that's what makes me tick.
That light bulb moment, that when you're talking to somebody and you see that thought process, that click into action, and you know it's going to make a change. Yeah, so how long have you been doing it for, Vanda? Tell us a little bit about your backstory and how you got to where you are.
So what I'm doing now, the whole NLP thing and teaching NLP, because I'm an NLP trainer as well, as you said. I've been doing that for about 5 years. My actual business is about 3 years old. It's actually 3 years old. It was on the 1st of March, and I'm quite proud of that, actually.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. So yes, if the business is 3 years old, but my practice is a lot longer. And what you also might want to know is that my background is in neuro rehabilitation. So I spent about 18 years in the field of the brain and the mind and how it works, how it changes itself, how your brain is able to rewire itself. And if it can rewire itself, why wouldn't we do it intentionally and rewire it in a way how we would like it to work for us?
Yeah, for sure. So this has always been in you. This is a passion for you, isn't it? This isn't a job. This is your path. This is what you were meant to do. How do you balance that personally, though, Vanda? Because you are in a lot of people's minds. You obviously hear an awful lot of things, and you have to keep that very close, of course, because of confidentiality with clients, etc. How does that affect you personally?
So it could affect me quite badly if I let it. But this is when being an NLP practitioner is really, really handy, very useful, because I do apply the NLP principles for myself as well. And I do use those tools to help me and to keep me protected from all the things that's coming in from the outside world. As you said, I do hear stories, and I hear some stories that in my personal life would be very triggering. For that, I made sure that I developed this protective bubble around me to make sure that what you can offload, but it doesn't sit on my shoulders, but it bounces off of my little bubble and becomes part of the universe, part of the something greater good, so it doesn't bounce back at you. Because what I believe in is, if I broke down, or people like myself, people who are helping, if we don't take care of ourselves and we break down, who will be there for the person who needs the help?
True.
So I've got my protective bubble, and I also am very, very keen on self-care. I
Okay.
do practice what I preach. I do make sure that I take time off. I'm very precious about my weekends. This is the reasons. And this is a very hard boundary for me. Whether it is going to be the weekend, or I decided I have to do something different, or choose to do, not have to, but choose to do something different at the weekend, which is work related, I will make sure that I take that time off during the week, so I can balance it all out. And in my spare time, what I will do is, when I'm not spending time with my other half and my little dog in nature, then I will go and do some art. Art is my therapy. That really is it. I absolutely love doing things with my hands and seeing them develop. And it's not about the end results. Yeah, it's what I tend to do is pleasing to the eye as well. But it's about the journey. It's about getting lost in the thing. It's about being in that flow state and clearing my mind completely, doing something very different, and giving my subconscious a chance to come up with its best solutions and do its magic.
I love that. I think that's brilliant. I think you come across so calm, so cool and collected. I think you obviously manage that very well. 2 questions I've got off the back of that. So I've seen the Instagram posts, I've seen the pictures of the crafts.
Have you?
Like, this is like you've done this for years. This is not somebody who's just gone into the craft world. So tell us what's your favourite been so far, because you've tried a few, haven't you?
Oh, I always try something new, and I do make a point of doing something different. Otherwise, I do get bored very easily, I have to say, when it comes to keep repeating things. I tend to obsess over something for a while. Let's say, I think I've done a lot of mosaic, I've done a lot of painting, a lot of drawing, a lot of just arty crafty things. So it's like I need to do something different. So the one before the last thing I did was floral artwork. So creating different, it's not flower arrangement as such, it is that as well, but it's creating a piece of art using live floral. And the last one, and this is the thing that I fell in love with now, is fused glass art.
I've not seen this one.
I did post one about it. I only took one workshop at a time, and I'm going to tell you a secret. Luckily, some people don't speak English in that room, but I'm taking them on a workshop this weekend, as my family is here to visit me, and I arranged this surprise workshop for them because I want them to fall in love with it as well.
And it sounds amazing.
To go too, so. Okay.
Well, the passion that's come through with you talking about that, this is going to be a good workshop, I feel. If they're half as excited about it as you, then it's going to be a win. It's going to be a win. But it's nice to know that you've got a channel, you've got an output, you've got somewhere you can go and you can do those things. Greenery, nature is important to you. We can see that from your background. So that's another thing.
Hang on.
I mean, it's brilliant. I just love it. I just think it's great. That's a really good way of doing a screen off from the separate room as well. Good tip there. Do you have a daily routine? Are there things that you implement on a daily basis to help?
I do have a daily routine. It's not a strict one though, because I believe if we restrict ourselves to a very set, very rigid routine, that's just going to throw us off balance, because life happens, doesn't it? Things are going to happen, and we can't always stick to that routine. So I sort of have a framework of how my day looks like. I set intentions the night before of how I would like this day, the next day to go. So I go to sleep and let my subconscious again do its magic and come up with the best solutions for the coming day, how I need to organize things and how I need to do. But what will be really important in my day is regular breaks.
Yes.
Yeah, starting it with a nice walk with my little doggy Pecky, and hopefully take her out during the day. But even if I don't get to take her out, make sure that I come off the screen, because I do everything online, and just go outside to the garden and do a bit of stretching or breathing or whatnot, or just, I don't know, walk up and down the corridor, whatever that will be. Just get out of this, get out of this environment, do something different, because we can't keep being creative and on top of our game if we just keep putting our heads down or keep staring at the screen. We need that recharge time. We need that refresh. We need different perspective, because the ideas are going to come from there, not from here necessarily.
Absolutely. So 5 years, 3-year business birthday the other day. So this has been a concept in the process for a long time. Hindsight is a wonderful thing. We all wish we had hindsight. So talk us through, what do you wish you knew at the beginning of business startup that you could have implemented that would have made a difference to you?
For me, it is, I wish I knew how wonderful networking was.
Okay.
I sort of knew about networking. I heard about networking from different people, and they were sort of trying to get me to go that way and kept saying that your business will fly when you do that. But I was very shy, and I had a lot of bad thoughts about myself, limiting beliefs about myself, that, I'm not going on camera, people won't like my accent, people won't like who I am, they're going to look at me and say, oh, what a funny looking face, and all these sort of things. I had this fear of meeting people, new people, and I wish I had known that it was going to be the best thing I can do for my business as well as for myself.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
You are naturally a people person, and you're in that space, so I think for you to build those relationships and those connections probably do come quite easy, because you're an easy person to get on with. But it's interesting to hear how you thought about that to begin with, and I suppose that's just come with time and confidence in your own business as well as anything else.
It really does. And I have to say, it doesn't always come easy. I mean, meeting new people does come easy, because I do like people. At the same time, I am a bit of an introvert. I do like to hide away. I do like to cuddle up with my dog on the sofa and just do that. What helps me in a networking scenario is, instead of pressuring myself to talk about my business, I do have a genuine interest about people. And I always say, it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter who you are just a person as well. And as a human being, I am interested in you, and I do want to find out who you are. And when I go into a networking meeting, or a one-to-one networking meeting, not just a group one, with this very genuine interest and curiosity towards the person, takes the pressure off of me, and I can be there, and I can be myself, and I can ask my questions, and I can get fascinated about what's going on in there. I told you I'm nosy. I want to understand that.
Bit of being nosy never goes amiss, Vanda. We are on the same page there. Don't you worry about that. So on that vein, then, taking that a little bit further, have you got any great stories from networking? Any really big wins? Any kind of eureka moments with somebody that you've connected with on a really deep level? Is there anything that springs to mind?
I'm not sure if I can come up with any huge big stories. It's generally about meeting people. I found some absolutely wonderful people in networking, and this is it. I found those amazing hidden gems that I didn't know existed, because if I was with my previous mindset, and I'm sure many people do share this, I would have said that, oh, this person does this, what does that have to do with me? I wouldn't really want to get to know them. But since I changed my mindset and my approach and my attitude towards networking, and it's about the person, I wanted to find out about them, I found some absolutely amazing hidden gems there. I found the best support network I can ever have. And it is within the ONLE network. What can I say?
And you've made some great friends as well, haven't you?
Absolutely wonderful friends. And what I really love about networking is that, being a sole trader can be a very, very lonely place, can't it? But since I've been a part of the ONLE network and other networks as well, but particularly the ONLE network, there was never a moment where I felt lonely. Never a moment where I felt that I was alone in this. Never a question that I didn't have someone to go to with. And that is priceless.
particularly when environmentally things going on around us in the world, it's tough. It feels tough again at the moment. I think people are, we need some sunshine. So I think to be in it together and to just have people that you can talk to is priceless. Thank you, Vanda. Yeah, that's good for you to share. Final question, bit of a fun one. Early bird or a night owl? Which one are you?
I think I'm a night owl. I'm definitely not an early bird. I don't like to wake up early. I am teaching myself to do that. Luckily, my dog doesn't like to get up early either. So, all good. We are winning here. But yeah, I don't like early mornings very much. When I do wake up, though, I do like that my day is so much longer and I get to make so much more of the day. But I definitely like to stay up and read a book or do a bit of drawing and I don't know, just be there. I'm very creative in the evening. This is what I feel.
Oh, I love it. See, I would have guessed the opposite. So there you go. You should never assume, should you? Vanda, thank you so much for that little insight into you and your world. You are a fantastic member of the community and you have certainly made a massive impact on a lot of people. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
So there we go. That's been another great episode of the ONLE Networking Show. Thanks for joining us. Please like, subscribe and share, and we'll see you again next month.